Right now, there are several villages in Italy that are practically giving houses away for free. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Shine 365, where our job is to give you insights into living a better life. Today, we'll be talking about an article from CNN entitled, "He Bought a Cheap House in Italy. This is What Happened Next," by Silvia Marchetti. Italy's cheap houses bonanza continues to lure hundreds of interested buyers despite the pandemic. But what happens once someone actually takes the plunge and invests their small chunk of change into a crumbling corner of a remote town in Italy? Let's take a look. Patrick from Oxford bought a property after finding himself in the village of the mountains on the border of Italy's Piedmont and Liguria regions almost by accident. I apologize if I'm doing pronunciations wrong. He had arrived after disembarking from a post-divorce Mediterranean cruise in the port of Genoa, where he met people who told him about the wonders of the village. He decided to visit it and take a look, and he was fascinated by the place. After touring several old properties, he fell in love with the 1930s school building, and he bought it in 2017. The other houses were nice, he said, but had nothing special. This one was particular. The view is unique. The way the sun goes down over the mountains when it sets, you'd say, wow, it's my personal Arcadia, my nirvana, my therapeutic place. The property, which was offloaded by the local town hall as part of an initiative to boost the populations of communities in decline, is located in the quiet neighborhood of Coneo, where just 12 people live. There's a lot of areas in Europe now where towns are practically giving away homes and buildings because the towns are dying out and they need to repopulate the area. So they're giving people incentives. So if you wanted to relocate from America or Canada or somewhere else, there are opportunities to do it very cheaply. But let's look a little bit more at some of these details. Since the purchase, he's been visiting the village every 2 weeks, even during the pandemic. He does business in Italy buying and reselling old three-wheeled vehicles. He says he's found a new family in the town and a bucolic haven for detoxing and unplugging amid lots of fresh air. Now, if you were previously living in a city, big city, New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, you're in for a drastic wake-up call. And usually it's one for the better. It all depends on your tastes. If you like really fast-paced things, then you're not going to find that. But if you're tired of the fast-paced life, if you want a real change in your life, maybe it's time to move to a little town in Italy. Cariga, he adds, has many charms. Top of the list is the friendliness of the local people, followed by the stunning views. He is also lucky, he says, to have a few short meters away a fountain which is fed by an invigorating, cool water flow coming down from the mountain peaks. Wow, that sounds amazing. A natural fountain that comes down from the peaks and gives you running water. But what are some of the downsides? Well, chimney collapse. Patrick says his initial encounter with his new home was less than promising. He recalls that the mayor had to climb up a ladder even to enter a window to open the building up to him. It had been shut for decades and the door was jammed shut as well, with the keys nowhere to be found. However, if we look at this caption, it says that the house only cost $16,000. So think of that. You're buying a house in an Italian village for only $16,000. Now, depending on where you're coming from, that is extremely, extremely cheap, and that is a bargain. People are welcoming, he says. They want to help newcomers and they don't want anything in return. At most, maybe a glass of red wine to sip together. Patrick says he's made plenty of friends in the village and enjoys his Italian dinners with them. During the minimal renovations needed to make the old school habitable, Patrick says he's unearthed a treasure trove of historic finds. He discovered relics from the building's former life. Dusty piles of textbooks, inkwells, glass bottles, pupil registers, and other quirky items harking to the bygone days. On the doors there's a mosaic with Roman numerals indicating the year the school was built. Patrick decided to keep that original tile floor and original wood-covered walls. He didn't even change it. Kariga has many people selling their empty family homes for as low as $12,000. And it's a quiet life. In one neighborhood, there are just 2 residents. While this town has been offloading cheap properties for a few years, officials are still occasionally putting up abandoned buildings for auction. And a few of these houses were recently sold for between $6,000 and $7,000. Imagine that. A property in a quaint, quiet Italian village for $6,000 or $7,000. That's it. Patrick has some advice for those tempted by the thought of buying a house up here. Don't expect any social buzz and be prepared for bumpy, tricky roads. There's absolutely nothing, he says, just great views, silence, pure air, and pristine surroundings. No bars, no supermarkets, no shops, no restaurants. If you're buying an old home, if you're not handy, if you're not a handyman or woman, then it will be much more difficult. But if you have the ability to fix up an older place and you actually like doing these little projects, then it could be a bonanza find for you. Another catch was that he struggled to insure the house, given that it's located, like in many beautiful parts of Italy, in an earthquake-prone area. So, the best advice Patrick wants to share with people thinking of buying a home to think carefully beforehand. Apart from a weekly delivery of cheese, with people knocking on the door, there's absolutely nothing at all in the village. Provisions must be bought from the nearby village of Cabela, which is, though less than 10 miles away, takes 30 minutes to reach. So as with everything, it's a give and take. Yes, you can buy a home in a little village in Italy for $6,000 to $12,000, but you'll be all alone in that village. So if you're a social person, it may be very difficult. Also, you'll be buying a much older home. So you may have to put a lot of time, effort, and money into keeping that home up. So if you're the type of person that wants to get away from it all, move away to a little village in Italy, and you're kind of a handy man or a handy woman, this may be the perfect thing for you. If you enjoyed the podcast today, please give it a thumbs up. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Shine 365.